All right, what's up, guys? Today gonna be doing a book tier list. Super excited to get to these. I've been meaning to get to these. I'm also doing a TV show and movie tier list for all the movies I've reviewed this year. This is all the books I've reviewed this year. Um, I am probably gonna switch this in the future. I want to try to do these every year and kind of keep expanding on them with all the stuff that's been reviewed on this channel, so that we can talk about it and kind of get a general list of at least what I think are like top tier books and what are not. But unfortunately, I didn't do a whole lot of different series this year, but I read through a lot of books in single series. Like I tried to finish like books of a single series. I have read through more series in this. Obviously, I've read a lot before I started the channel, but I've gone back and reread some. But I want to include what I have for reviews. So if you guys want to go check them out after this, you have context to see why I made my decision the way I did. I am going to talk a little bit as we go through these, but before we get started, I'm going to try not to give too many spoilers since this is a tier list. I'll give probably little things away. So if you're looking for absolutely no spoilers before you read a book, you're going to need to just look at the end tier list and mute me. Preferably you don't, though. And then also, this is my opinion. So, like, if you disagree with something I put, that's totally understandable. This is my personal preference. These are where I think these books fall, and I've had plenty of people disagree with me. It's totally okay. I am not not like the only person that can be correct on this. Everyone has their own background and perspective that they add when you are reading a story and why things connect to you the way they do, and sometimes they just don't. And that's okay. Okay. With all that being said, let's get started on this tier list. So, The White Tree. This is from The Cycle of Iran by Edward. This is like the first book I reviewed on this channel, by the way. I have the whole series, and this is the only book I've reviewed, so that should give you a little hint of what's coming. I'm like looking through my library quickly trying to find it. I know it's on here somewhere. Edward Robertson. Yeah. I don't like this book. I've had a friend tell me, colleague, tell me that he really enjoyed this series a lot. And I might go back and give the rest of the books another chance. I'm not rereading the first book. I can tell you that right now. I will either do a summary review of the first book, or I'll just go on, and I have a pretty good memory for books, so it shouldn't be too bad. I didn't like this book. I thought it was not very well written. I thought the characters were all the exact same, and it did that stuff, the super like fantasy trope, that I feel like a lot of really new writers go in on, which is like, we go from point A to point B to point C to point, and like the bad guys are chasing us, but there's always fights, but there's no stakes. There was no stakes in this book for me. I could care less about what happened to the main character. I didn't feel like any character felt really distinctly different, and I just didn't care. I honestly don't know if this is the worst book I've read this year. One thing I totally forgot though. Tiers, S through D. S being amazing, A being very good, B being pretty good, above average, C being pretty average, and like, it's okay. It might be like your thing, it might not be your thing. D being absolutely terrible. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go through this whole series, Ember in the Ashes, because these all four books are one series. So they're pretty close together for me. I'm gonna put them in the order, but I think for me these are gonna sit in low C. I think it's Ember, Reaper, Torch, and then the last book. And I put the last book last only because I don't think it's necessarily the worst, but I felt like a lot of the setup that had been done through the series. I didn't really enjoy how it ended. I felt like a lot of it was kind of meh. I had okay hopes for it in this book, and I felt like this might have been like, actually, honestly, these might be the order that it should be in. I think this is the book I kind of liked, and I had some high hopes for the next book. But like, it's a YA fantasy romance novel basically, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like I felt like it was very tropey, and the characters were not super well done. There were elements I really there's reasons it's not in D tier, and that's because there are elements that I felt like this had like its own unique world building that I don't see in fantasy all the time. I see a lot of Tolkien stuff, like in general fantasy, basically just rehashing Tolkien over and over and over again. That was not this. I felt like this series had some unique elements to it, but they weren't super well fleshed out. The world building was like, it definitely had some elements that were cool, but it was not, I don't think, done enough. I think this is one of those series that like, she might be someone. Sorry, I gotta look up her name. I haven't read a lot of these writers in a little while, so please forgive me. Saba Tahir. I think she could be someone to watch for. It really depends on the thing with like writers is I feel like it very much depends on like if you have initial success, and I think this story did okay. It depends on if you listen to your critiques. And obviously, like, there's critiques you have to ignore. There's people that are just going to say your stuff is absolute trash and they're not critical. But I think there's definitely some critical work to do here and analysis. And I think that if she does listen to that, I believe it's she, does listen to this, does listen to some criticism and, like, really take it in and, like, try to grow from it, I think, like, in another series or two, she could be a really, really good writer. Like there are really there's definitely bright points in these, but there's just a lot that need like these books should have been cut down significantly. They were not like I think these were almost each like 16 to 20 hour books. They should not have been that long. They should have been like 10 to 12 hour books, and it should have just been cut significantly. Okay. The series is the Tales of the Coven, I believe, by R.A. Salvatore. I have a personal bias. He's one of the first fantasy writers I started reading when I was way younger, if you don't count like Harry Potter. So I've read the Demon War Saga, which basically is happens before these books, and I personally like those quite a bit. These are like my fun reads sometimes. As I've gotten older, I've like fallen more away. This series was all right. I think Child of the Mad God is definitely the best, and it's definitely above these. Thank you. I still think it's a C tier. I don't think it's a B tier. I think Fallen. I actually think that they might have just got progressively worse per book. So, one thing is with these is like I feel like you need to read the Demon War Saga before you read these. Like, you definitely don't have to, but there's enough like characters that are from that and events that happen from that are referenced that I feel like it's important to get the context of this series. And I did not know that going into this. I thought this was kind of a standalone thing, separate from those completely. It is set in the same world, which I did enjoy, and I like the world. Sorry, I need some water. You can hear my voice cracking at points too. There's good parts about these that I really enjoyed. Elements I liked about the main character, elements I didn't like about the writing. They're okay. They're one of those things that like I don't really recommend for other people to read, but I have just read his work for so long that sometimes it's just, you get like caught up in reading one writer's work. So, and I I think that the Demon War Saga is actually a little bit better than this, especially the first couple books. I think the first 3 are like pretty solid. So I might go back and review those and put them onto the channel at some point. So, okay, let's go on. Okay, these ones, I'm going to hold off on the Cradle books. Let's hold off on a little bit for those. I really want to spend some time, because these are definitely going to be on different tiers overall. But let's go to the Stormdancer series. Okay, so first off, Kinslayer is the best of these books. This is tough. I actually think this is better than all of these books. Get over there. Okay. I think Kinslayer is the second book in this series. I think the series is just called Stormdancer. I thought it was really good. It's like set in this like steampunky, like pollution and stuff like that world with fantasy creatures and stuff like that. And I read all these books. There's, I don't know how to have this discussion. I kind of talked about it in my video, and obviously people did not like me talking about it, but I really think there's a bit of cultural appropriation going on in these books that I'm not a huge fan of. I really think that the end of the series, like, this book was the best because it really focused on like the people aspect, and it wasn't even focused on the main character that much. It was focused on other characters who became kind of main characters. But it was like the street level life of people, and it was like fighting against kind of a tyrannical government. And I thought it was like really well done. And I thought the first book, actually, I think the first book would probably be, this is tough, probably up here. This book is definitely way lower for me. I feel like there's a lot of potential for this, but it just was not done to a level that I expected for this. And the last book I felt like really took significantly away from Yukiko, I think is the main character's name. It really took away from her like autonomy and choices, and I did not appreciate it. I did not think the ending was very good. People will probably disagree with me. People have really disliked that video. Totally fine. I get it. You know, people are not going to always agree with everything I say. It's not for me. I'm never going to not read his books again. Like, I probably will go and try some other of his stuff. This series for me, I had problems. So I did read all 3 books though. So that should tell you something. Cause it was good enough to make it was good enough that I read the entire series. Unlike some of these other ones like Darklight, which I thought was pretty bad. I had hope for this book from the beginning. This is another like YA romance, but it's playing on that vampire romance. It's not good. I don't like it. There's basically like this world building setup. Like the first chapter and the second chapter feel like completely separate books. Like it feels like the first chapter was written and done all this world building and stuff, and then like the concept of the story completely changed while writing the rest of the book, and the first chapter was not edited to reflect that. Because they're like, it's all about like how vampires are like killing humans and stuff like that, and like I thought it was gonna be really dark, and then like the rest of the book is focused on like they're gonna be our friends, and that's okay. You can do that. But that was not what was set up in the beginning. It completely changed pace, and then the main character there was like no stakes. The book is basically like, we're going on a mission. Okay, mission successful. Problem slightly arises. Okay, problem solved. Okay, next mission. And there was an element in the book at the end that like the main character had like a super, like could have been a really pivotal choice, which is basically, and she's in the military, by the way, just so this makes a little bit more context, but basically she had a pivotal choice to potentially make like of killing someone, and the author did not make her make that choice. I think the main vampire killed the guy or something like that, and she didn't have to, or like he surrendered or something. It could have been like a very impactful choice for her, like, which if she's in the military and she's never had to kill, like, I know like everyone in the military has to kill, but like she should be prepared to defend and kill if she has to. Or there should have been a comrade that she like maybe personally knew, could have made that choice a little bit more intense. But even then, the choice of like her struggling with that decision could have been like really impactful if she did have to shoot him to like save these vampires. But again, choice was taken away from the character, and it was just there was no stakes. There was nothing by the end of the book. So, and I think there's 2 more books, and yeah, I'm not reading them. So, 13 Doorways with Wolves Behind Each One, I think. This is a book recommended. This is going to be low B. This is a book that was recommended to me by my aunt, or sent to me by my aunt on Audible. It's like, ooh, voice super crack there. It's like fantasy adjacent. It deals with like ghosts, and like the storytelling elements of it are kind of cool. It's set in like the 1940s, I believe. Kind of historical fantasy a little bit. It's all right. It's not my cup of tea necessarily, but it was not bad either, and it was pretty quick to read, so I wasn't too upset by having to read it. Okay, The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. Gonna go ahead and slap that up there right now. I think the second review of the series I've released on the channel, I have to go back and reread 3, 4, and 5 again, because I've read them multiple times, but they kind of blur together to me, and kind of when I get going on something like this, like I will just like plow through it, and I kind of forgot to record as I was doing that, so like the end of the series really blurred together. I will say that overall, the first time I read through the series, I was reading while it was released, and the ending of it was a little disappointing to me, because the first 4 books are absolutely amazing. I think they are super good books, probably some of the best character work I've seen done in writing. Like, they are very, very, like, Kip is a very compelling character. I think a lot of the other characters are super, super in-depth, super detailed, a great character and a little like character plot driven story. I think the magic system is really, really cool. It deals with like colors and light, and like there's consequences for having magic for too long. Like you basically, mages don't live past like 40, maybe 50, which is cool. But the first time I read through it, the 5th book, I had problems with, but I think that's because my expectations were set really, really high because of the first 4 books, and I didn't like the ending that much. This time I read through it, so like it was like an S tier for me, and then the 5th book dropped it down to basically an A tier for the whole series. This time I read it, I had kind of a different opinion. I think it's because my expectations were way lower. So maybe one more read through actually won't be bad to re-review this. This book is definitely S tier. I think this 3 and 4 are without a doubt S tier. 2 I think could be argued for to be maybe high A, and 5 probably the same situation. Obviously I don't have those on here because I haven't fully reviewed them yet, but I'm giving you guys a little heads up on what's gonna come. So, but I'm gonna give them another run through before I like solid opinion. But this series I really, really personally enjoy a lot, and I'm excited to see, because Brent Weeks, I've read his other series too, which is like the I think it's Night Angel trilogy, and like there were so many improvements made from that to this, and I'll maybe do the Night Angel trilogy at some point too. I have a lot of books to go back and reread so that I can review them. But this is definitely, he definitely took what he learned from that first series and improved upon it. All right, The Lies of Loch Lamora. This is a high A tier book for me. I had a few problems with the ending of the first book. It just felt like some problems kind of got wiped under the rug a little too easily. But this was another good character book, where I felt like Loch was such a good intelligent character, and it was written very well from that perspective. Again, a couple problems with the ending, but overall solid. Super, super solid. But with that being said, we're going to go to the next 2 in the series, which is Red Seas Under Red Skies. Yeah. And Republic of Thieves. Oh man. I wonder if I can shrink these. No. Okay. Yeah. They got significantly worse for me. I really did not like those books at all. I actually might even move them down lower. Actually, yeah, I am going to move them down lower than what they are. I probably put that here and that there. I thought the second book was honestly just bad. Like it did not. I was not happy about it. I thought it was really boring. A lot of times, I had a hard time getting through it. I felt like there was just nothing to keep going on. Like the first book felt like it could have been like a standalone book, and then like there were elements that were like not solved in the first, and it's just like they didn't really get solved moving forward. I think Republic of Thieves I liked a little bit better, because we got introduced to the mysterious like ex of the main of Loch. And I thought she was a pretty good character and a pretty good addition. But again, it was kind of like, it kind of felt like he was just repeating the same plot over and over and over again. I think the fourth book is out, and I haven't read it yet. I might give it a read through at some point, but if it's the same thing again, I probably won't read beyond that. I feel like it's just trying to play on the same principle over and over and over again, and there could be just so many good. There was so much potential after the first book, and I just felt like it was not used. So, okay, the Final Empire, S tier, might actually be, yeah, that feels right. The Final Empire of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson is a phenomenal book. I think as a standalone novel, it is amazing. I think the characters are great. Vin is an amazing main character to follow. The story's great. The aspect of like this thieving group and like playing their roles and doing this stuff and trying to take down, like, basically it's like I think the concept he talked about with it was, what if the bad guy had won? And like he had like built the fantasy world beyond that and ruled for 1,000 years type thing. It's good. It used to be my go-to fantasy recommendation for people looking to get into fantasy, because it's, I know as an audiobook it's like 20 hours, so I think it's like a 400 or 500 page book, but it's good. It's a really solid book on its own. It's amazing. I think that, again, it's still one of my top books that I recommend to a lot of people. Now, downside is the next two. I'm actually going to put Hero of Ages above Well of Ascension. I do like a piece of Hero of Ages. I don't really want to spoil it for people, because I think that the series is still worth reading. But the Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages, I just don't think are strong. I think that the elements of the first book just did not carry over for more books in the series. Now, these books are important because of what's coming next on my list of what I'm going to talk about. So like these are a must read for the next series, because this is the next thing coming up is Gen 2 of Mistborn, which is definitely worthwhile. So these are like, you should read these, but they're okay. They're still decent. Like Sanderson is just, even his bad stuff I would say is still like good writing. It's just that I thought they had a lot of problems, a lot of dragging issues, like just kind of being boring at parts and not being super interesting. So, the Alloy of Law, I'm going to put as a low S tier. The Shadow of Self, I'm going to put at A, and Bands of Mourning, I'm actually going to put above Alloy of Law. I really like this book, and I'm excited for 4 of this. These are really, really good. As a series, as the 3 books so far, and I need book 4 before I can give it a final rating. But right now, it's an S tier for me. I think that these books are really short. They're not very long at all. but there's so much good character building in it, and I personally like the Wax and Wayne duo, as well as Marissa and oh gosh, I feel so bad. Guys, I read a lot of books. I'm sorry if I forget names. I again, like, look at our list so far. God, I've read these like 3 or 4 times too, and it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna like someone's gonna post it in the comment and be like, I'm so dumb for not remembering that. These are awesome. I really like them. There's so much cool setup for the Cosmere. I am excited to see, like, I read Stormlight, and after Stormlight 4, because I read these after after Rhythm of War, like, so many other pieces clicked into place for me, and I was like, oh my god, these just got 10 times better for me, and they were already something I really personally enjoyed. Yeah, should read for Mistborn for sure. And we'll see with book 4. Book 4 I'm really excited about, but I think it'll really depend on that to close out, because it could end up A, depending on if book 4 is bad, but I have a strong feeling it's going to be an S tier for me. Coulson Whiteheads, the Nickel Boys. This is out of my realm of normal reading. If you have not watched this, this is not fantasy. I read this for class, actually, and it's a fiction book, but it's based on real events that happened, and deals with issues of racism and stuff. It is honestly one of the best books I've read for class. It's really, really, really good. There was a piece of it that while I was reading, and I don't want to spoil it, but there was a piece of it that I thought was, like, I did not like, and it ended up twisting that, using that as like as an element of like kind of playing on that trope, and like like kind of making it to the point of where I was like, oh, my critique is completely obsolete now. So okay, I'm actually thinking we're gonna need to zoom out a little bit on this one, so but we'll get there in a sec. Children of Blood and Bone, solid B tier. Yeah, low B. There's good stuff about this. I really enjoyed some elements about it. I thought the magic system was super, super cool. I think it came to another I think this is her first book. Tomi Adeyemi, if I am remembering that correctly. I think this is her first book she's published. I know there's more to this series. I'm probably going to go back and read more of this. I think that this definitely feels like a first novel. And they're just, again, it falls into some of those traditional fantasy tropes of like going from point A to point B to point C to point D. And I don't like, I'm so tired of seeing that type of stuff. And I don't think it's conducive to like good storytelling. Like you obviously have to travel sometimes and stuff like that, but it's always like go to place B, problem occurs, problem is semi-resolved, move to point C while bad guys chase, and it's just like that's the progression of the story. It doesn't really do a lot of like setting up stuff for the future. It's just like each is kind of like its own contained episodic piece. But there's still good stuff to it, and I think the characters were a little flat, but not super flat. Like they definitely had elements. Like I think honestly Kinslayer's characters probably are better, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Kinslayer might be a little bit higher for me. Yeah, let's put that there. Maybe there. But I think this has a lot of potential. And I want to see more of it, but it's not like a super high priority on my list. I think I've got a lot of other stuff that I'm more interested in like going through right now. But there's definitely an element of like I want to continue going with this. I don't even know if oranges should really be on this collection, or on this tier list. This is a short story collection, um, by a local author. It's good. All the short stories pertain to each other. I do enjoy it. I'm gonna put it at an A, low A. This is another book I read for class, and I do like it a lot. I think there's a lot of like the writing in it is good, but again, it's outside my range of like I don't have stuff to compare it to, and like you kind of need. I don't have the context of the rest of like that writing, so it makes it much harder for me to like judge where it should be. I actually, I'll put it in B, high B. We'll put it there. Sorry, that one's it's a tough one for me because like I did enjoy reading it, but again, it's not my like it's not something I'm gonna pick up on my own. I do think it's a good read, and like obviously like with my coursework, I'm happy that I get to go outside my normal realm of reading because it does help me expand my own horizons and not get stuck in just reading the same stuff. It helps me like kind of break free a little bit, and then like that helps me with context outside of that. There's always stuff to be learned outside of just the genre that you prefer. Now, that's if you want to write and stuff like that. If you just want to read and you do this for enjoyment, then yeah, just stick with what you like. Okay, Spellslinger series. So here's the thing: Spellslinger book 1, definitely an A tier book. I actually, after I finished book 1, I was comparing it to Cradle. I thought it was really, really good. The first book was super solid. And then it didn't go well from there. Let's just no. Actually, I still had hope for the series at this book, so we'll put it here. But then these books go like, honestly, probably like this. Actually, no, Soulbinder was a really good. I like that one a lot. I probably would put that like there. But these three, I could care less about. The problem is that there were like overarching plot points that were set up. I never felt like they were followed through on. It was always like this one-off adventure, and it was doing the same thing every single time. The only reason this book is higher is because the characters in it were far more interesting, and I thought the story itself was far more compelling. But, I mean, this series could have gone on literally forever. It would have been the same book over and over and over again, which I don't think is good for an overarching series. You need to be writing towards something. I want to know what this character never changed throughout the series. In the first book, he did change significantly, and I thought it was such a good start, and I was very, very disappointed by the ending of it. So, okay. Brandon Sanderson's Rhythm of War. Okay. Stormlight is awesome, and it's definitely probably going to be an S tier series for me. I think the Rhythm of War is a high A. I think Stormlight 1, honestly, I think 1, 2, and 3 are S tier. I think Rhythm of War does a great job of Cosmere work, and there are some really, you know what? No, it belongs up here. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm psyching myself out. But then I looked like, actually, I'm going to put this. Let's put that there. Sometimes I got to adjust these things. You kind of remember the context of all the books together. Like, obviously I've read a ton this year. But yeah, this book, I love Stormlight. I think it's great. I think this is the weakest of the Stormlights so far, but that's only because this book needed to do so much setup work for 5 and for beyond 5. There are good story elements in this book, but for me personally, I have struggled with depression in the past, and reading through Kaladin's story arc in this book really hit hard. Now, for me, I am lucky enough to have grown, like learn. I don't want to say grown. I've learned techniques to deal with my own depression and kind of like worked through a lot of the stuff that was causing that. And like when this hit home, that's not a bad thing. It was really impactful in those moments, and Sanderson did such a good job with that. And I know I have friends though that this hit so hard that they literally had to put the book down because it was too close to home, that it was like pushing them into that into like depression and stuff like that. And that's not bad. That does not make this book bad by any means. It makes this like Sanderson did his due diligence when writing his characters, and he is one of, I would say he's probably the best current fantasy writer, and many people may argue with me with that, but I think he's like right now he is probably the number one fantasy guy. Okay, moving on. Robert Jordan's this is Eye of the World, I believe. Yeah. Okay. I'm probably gonna get some flack for this. Ooh, no, it's definitely not worse than Spellslinger. I think Spellslinger is pretty good, but okay, I'll put it here. Nope, right there. I think the Eye of the World is the weakest Wheel of Time book. And many people will disagree with me on that, but I don't think that Jordan did. Jordan is excellent. Probably one of the best world builders, besides maybe Tolkien. He is super good at world building. His characters in book 1 were not good, and no one is going to move me on that point. It's not that they were bad, and that's not what I'm saying, but they were not super flushed out by that point, and they were all basically kind of the same. But Moraine and Lan were super interesting. And this also falls into those classic stuff, but this was also written earlier than a lot of these other books. But it does fall into some of that classic questing stuff, but there's some really good elements in that. The ending is also really weird in this book. It still starts the Wheel of Time, which is an amazing series. Just because this book is an A tier does not mean that the Wheel of Time does not deserve to be an S tier series, because in my mind, the Wheel of Time is an S tier series. And it'd be hard for me when we do. I think I'll be doing series next year instead of just individual books. It's going to be hard for who's that top S tier in my mind, because this is definitely a contender for that. The Great Hunt, definitely there. Super high A tier, breaking into S tier. The one scene that I think is for me is S tier is the Portal Stone scene at the end of book 2 with Rand, and I think that scene is fantastic. It is awesome, and I think it's one of it is one of the things that when I think about the Wheel of Time, because like with long series like this, a lot of the books will blur together for me. Like I am in like I think 7 right now on my 3rd read through, and like those middle books are like I'm like, oh, like I finished 6 and I was like, I did not realize some of this stuff happened this early in the series. But I really do enjoy this book, and I think that the Wheel of Time just keeps kind of getting better, because the Dragon Reborn, I would say is even above the Great Hunt in my mind. These books, like the Wheel of Time series, and I'll probably do a Wheel of Time individual tier list at some point. But for me, like these just kept getting better and better, and I think 3 was 2 was definitely better than 1. 3 I think was better than 2, and then 4. No. 4. Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, I'm putting 4 there. 4 is, I think, where the Wheel of Time actually not actually begins, but it's where his writing style changes significantly. This book is a tome compared to the other 3. But in the first half of the book is really slow, but it does so much good setup work. It is awesome. I love this. 5 is right behind it. For me, like after that, after 4, like even people who say like this, there's a slog in the middle. I know a lot of people have problems with like the middle books because there's like a lot of character setups and stuff. For me, each time I've read it, it's only gotten better. Those little like the side characters and stuff like that you maybe don't remember on your first read through, going on your second and then onto the third, like more and more things pop out, and it's so clear to me how much Jordan loved this series writing it, and it's so like there are so many things that are so thought out and set up, and I love that. And even now, like there's still like I love series, whether it be shows or book series or anything like that, where I can go back and reread it and it only gets better because I find more things that I did not catch on my first read through. Again, really great. I'm excited to put more books of this. I will do a Wheel of Time when I finish with the reviews, and which will probably be through this year because I'm reading with a bunch of other people. If you haven't checked out the Drink and Discuss, check those out. But I'm reading with friends who have not read the Wheel of Time, and this is their first read through of it. So I'm reading alongside them. Ooh, spill a little water. So I'm going a little slower than I would normally go. But it's good, and hopefully by the end of the year I can have if not by the end of the year, early next year for sure, I'll have all 15 of the Wheel of Time books, and I'll do a tier list for them, and it'll be a lot of fun. But we're already talking about that in the Drink and Discuss too. So okay, I saved Cradle for last because I think this is one of the series that's actually the most popular to come and chat about on this channel, and it's one of my first videos that kind of started taking off for this channel. And for good reason, because this book deserves to be talked about more. This book is very, very recent, in all things considered. I'm pretty sure Unsold, which is the first book, came out in 2016. This has become my number one recommendation for fantasy, like for new people getting into fantasy. Not that it's like the best of the best, but that I think it is the most approachable and easy to get into. Unsold for me is definitely an S tier. This is tough. Yeah. Ooh, this is not easy. Okay. This needs to be moved up there. So, Unsold I think is a really great start to the series. Will White does this thing with pacing that is it is amazing what he does. I think it's such a hard thing to, like, when writing like that, like, first off, to cut out that much stuff and still have it, like, have all these events, like, pile on top of each other, but still be setting up more events in the future, but always have the stakes and tension going on at the same time. It's a lot that he is juggling very, very quickly, because these books are very short. And it's super well done. I have a lot of respect for him for that. But we're going to go through the rest of the series. And maybe once all of these are out too, I'll do a tier list on Cradle. Book 2 is Soulsmith. I would probably put book 2 there. I liked it a lot more on my second and third read through of the series. I've already read through the series like a couple times, and I listened to the first book December of 2020. Was when I started, like, at the end of December, and that's I put these, like, back to back. I listened to the whole series in like 2 weeks because I was just like so enthralled by it. But yeah, this is definitely it's good. It's, I think, one of the weaker books in the series. Black Flame is I'm gonna put Black Flame here. I'll probably have a lot of people disagree with me. No, we're gonna put it right there. I think Black Flame is really, really good. It's definitely something I really like, training arcs and stuff like that. I think it's super solid, super interesting. I like the introduction of Orthos. I think it's great. I'm really excited. This is what I like really got into it with, like these three together. But then we've got Skysworn. Skysworn for me. Yeah. Nah. Right there. I think that feels right. Skysworn for me was okay. I felt like it was just kind of I did not personally like it that much myself. I think it's the worst book in the series so far. Just because I think it's the worst book in the series doesn't mean that it's a bad book, though. It's still a pretty decent book. There's just a lot of, there's an introduction of Mercy, but I felt like she was just kind of thrown in. There wasn't a lot of, depth to her quite yet. That comes through the rest of the books. Okay, 5 is Ghostwater. Easy. This is an easy S tier for me. Ghostwater's I personally really like, and it got Linden on the level of everyone else and kind of caught him up. And it's mostly about Linden's growth and Linden on his own after being kind of protected for the first the first part of the series. So super great. I think it's an awesome part. This is where we're gonna get into hard part, because now we've got Underlord. Yeah, Underlord. Actually, I might move this down. We'll move it down there. It's hard for me because Unsold kicked everything off, so Unsold has kind of got a boost a little bit. But yeah, I really like Underlord a lot. I like that and Uncrowned together. These two books, though, are where I started to have some problems, especially in Uncrowned. Because with the style, he had been running at 90 miles an hour the entire series. It was just training, fight, and that's can be really exciting and got me super into the series right off the bat. But this was the stage that I was like, we need character development. We really need just some not a lot, but just some slow moments with characters. And in this book specifically, there was a moment where we were in mid-scene, and it was a slow scene with Mercy and Linden, and it was a really good emotional scene, and it was just cut halfway through, and I don't think it deserved to be cut. It would have been, I think it deserved to be fully flushed out and given its time. But with that being said, we get into book 8, which is Wintersteel. This one is really tough to place. I actually think this one might be here. Okay, can we shrink this a little bit? Sorry. I kind of forgot how many books I read, so let's just slide that right there. Lock everything down. Okay, so Wintersteel for me, actually Wintersteel might even be above Black Prism. I think Wintersteel is the best book in Cradle right now. It fixed the problems that I was complaining about in 6 and 7 with not taking enough time to really develop the characters. And he's changed his style slightly. He expanded upon it, and he did it here. Now, there was still some more I wanted from Linden's team and companions in this book, because it's kind of Linden a bit separated from his friends. And the ending of Uncrowned is really, actually, you know what? Uncrowned is yeah, it's probably like that. It's these are really close together. It's really difficult to pick. The ending of Uncrowned is really great, but yeah, Wintersteel just does such a good job, and it has one of my favorite quotes. My favorite quote from the series so far, which is just, "I am the end, And if you have read it, you'll know what I'm getting at. But if you have not, obviously that won't make any sense to you. So read it and get to that, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Super, super good. Bloodline. I'm moving this up here so that I can move it up. Bloodline for me is, honestly, I liked it a lot more than other people. I liked Lyndon getting to be with his family and stuff like that. I'm actually going to put it here. This is really hard because this S tier is very packed. Like these are very stacked lists, and it's very difficult to place these because it would have been easier to place them as a series versus individual books. It makes it kind of hard to like pick and choose where to put these at. Actually, honestly, Bloodline might be better than Fires of Heaven for me. I really personally enjoy Bloodline a lot. I know a lot of people did not like it, but I personally liked it. I thought there were a lot of good elements. I liked getting to see go back and see the growth of Lyndon over the course of this series. And then finally, last but not least, we will bring Reaper up here. I'm doing that. I know a lot of people are going to be super upset by that because I know a lot more people liked Reaper than liked Bloodline. I want to explain it a little bit so that everyone kind of understands where I'm coming from. Bloodline as an overall book, I liked more content of Bloodline. I thought that everything felt pretty good. I know a lot of people didn't really care for the Titan fight at the end, but I really enjoyed the book as a whole. Like all of it, I was like having a good time with. Reaper, I did like still. It's still an S tier book. Don't get me wrong. Actually, see, the problem with this is, and the reason I put it below Bloodline, and I might even move it down a bit more, is that the ending reveal, and I don't want to spoil it here for anyone who has not read this book yet, the ending reveal is awesome. I love the ending reveal so much, and I think it's so cool. And there's like consequences that are being dealt with in this book from previous, because it's basically been power up, power up, power up, power up, and then this book is like powered down a little bit and kind of some losses for them, which is cool. It's a different take. I mean, obviously there's still some victories and stuff like that. It's balanced out. But then there's like the labyrinth section, which is kind of boring in my opinion. I think it should have been trimmed down and like reworked a little bit more. It felt a little like that section was kind of rushed to publication, and like he's popping out these books like twice. He's putting 2 of these out a year. That is a lot of writing. Very quickly. And I'm just saying it. I mean, will probably never see this, but like, dude, take your time, man. I'm more than like, I know you have other stuff to get to, and like obviously after Cradle I know there's more stuff, but like take your time on these last 2. I'm more than happy to wait a little bit longer to get like the best product that he can put out. But yeah, that was my problem with Reaper, and it's kind of why it's down a little bit. With the end reveal, it like bumps it up so much. Like if it didn't have that end reveal, it probably would be maybe even an A tier, but the end reveal is just so good that I'm like, yeah, it significantly improved it. So, all right, guys, we're out of books to talk about. These are all the books I've reviewed this year, by the way. This is a lot of books. And I'm hoping to double that this next year, maybe even get more in, because there's definitely a few times that I kind of take a little bit of a slowdown. But there's so much more to read. There's so much more that I even have like so many more books that I have not gotten to, that I have already purchased in my library on Audible. And I want to get to so bad, but obviously, like, I also don't want to burn myself out. I want to keep producing videos consistently for everyone to look at. But just look through these again. I just want to see if there's any that I feel like I need to move. I don't think so. I think this is a pretty solid. Well, I wish I had the rest of. I wish I had review. I need to review the rest of Stormlight because that would really significantly change that. Because I do think Rhythm of War is down here, but I think that like the other three would probably be like up here. Yeah, like 1, 2, 3 would be like up in the top S tier, probably above Final Empire actually. So yeah, this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. I'm hoping to keep doing them. Again, probably do them every year. Next year, I think instead of doing individual books, I'll do series, just so that like, because I'll have more series read, so I can kind of like condense down a little bit instead of having like this massive list of books to do. But I hope this was fun. I hope you guys, if you do like the video, please like, subscribe. We're a super small channel, so every like and subscribe helps out a lot. And some of you, I'm sure some of you have like personal preferences that maybe you're like, why is this book down here? I really like that book. Hey, that's okay. Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. It doesn't mean that, we don't have to agree. If you like other books, if you like books on this list that I don't like as much, that's totally okay. We have different perspectives. We have different life stories, and that, sets some of our expectations and what we can relate to for books. Totally fine. I get it. But I'm excited to talk about it. I want to see other people's favorites. And maybe, if I don't have a book on this list and you're like, but the writing, Jen, why haven't you read this specific book? Post it in the comments. I literally, like, every time someone posts something and says, hey, you should read X, I have a wish list that I put it on immediately as soon as someone says it, if it's not already on there. So like, it's a long list. I might not get to it right away, but I do like take every recommendation like seriously. Like, I do want to get to as much content as I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you if you watched up to this point. Thank you for watching the video. I know this is a super long video, but obviously a lot of stuff to talk about. So I will see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed watching.